Guys, well played. Pedro, a really difficult moment, a really low point in your season. How much fight, how much determination have you come back and shown today?
Yeah, of course. I say you before the game. No, we need to put in the pitch of right mentality today because it's a difficult game. I think today the team is good. Not the team, everyone, the fans, unbelievable also. And yeah, keep going now.
Richarlison, what was the key today? Was it fight? Was it mentality?
Yeah, in first half I missed 2 chances, but I keep going, continue. In the second half I have the opportunity again and I score the big point. Yeah, we stay focused for next week. In the middle the week we have a Champions League, but the focus now is important in Premier League.
And somehow, given you're a former Everton player, is this a ground where you just seem to do well, a ground where you just seem to feel good?
Yeah, I like to play against big team. It's a big opportunity for me. I want to stay fit for the club, for the national team, because we have a World Cup in June. I need to stay fit because the club is needed to me fit.
Pedro, how did you do it today? Probably everyone watching, maybe even Spurs fans would have thought, I'm not sure what chance we have today. And how important was it that you guys in the dressing room didn't feel like that you retained belief?
Of course, I always believe in this thing. I say this for my team. My teammates in the before the game, no, believe in us. I think right in this moment you need everyone together. And yeah, I think that today is we have a good game. I think the most important for us now take the point, take the positive thing and keep going in the next week in the Champions League. We have 2 games next week, and yeah, it is.
How much credit does the manager deserve today? He's had a lot of criticism, but it looked like he simplified the plan, went to a back four, a back four and then another 4 sat in front, a block. Did that help today? Does he deserve credit for his words not allowing you to sort of think too much and worry too much, and also for his tactics?
No, I think we need to follow the plan for today. No, I think the teammates is the same. I follow the plan, stick it in the game. I think the first half for us, Richie said, I have chance, but in this moment we go the second half. Stay 1-0 in the game. This is important for the stick in the plan, as you say. Of course, I always in every game follow the manager. I think this is the important. Stay everyone together now.
Okay, thank you. Well done. Well done.
Pedro Porro wants the players and the manager to all keep together between now and the end of the season in order to get Tottenham out of the situation that they find themselves in. However, today they got a point at Anfield. They got the point at the home of the champions, and yet it was not a fluke. They deserved at least that from the game.
It dug deep. People have been poking fun at Spurs the last few months. It's been a difficult season from no doubt. But today they showed that fighting spirit. It was ugly sometimes. They went direct. The goal and the other chance came from direct play, probably unlike Tottenham. They showed a bit of spirit, fight and quality at the right time. To go goal down as well, you're thinking, we'll find out about these lads today. And I tell you, we have to give them credit today. They showed plenty of, as I said, fight and spirit and quality, deserved it. And towards the end, yeah, Liverpool obviously had 1 or 2 half chances. But we were sitting there going, Tottenham could even go on to win this later on. Big problems at Liverpool. There's something missing there. But for Tottenham to take a point, a bit of momentum, they have to get some momentum into their season. They're on the home straight now. Teams are running out of games. So that point will lift everyone, the supporters, obviously the manager, who's been heavily criticised. Big lift for everyone at Spurs today. And another big few games coming up, obviously.
And as much as it felt as though Spurs were going to get back into the game, it definitely felt as though Richarlison was the man who was going to do it.
Absolutely, Kelly. You know, all game he was a thorn in their side. Joe Gomez and Virgil van Dijk really struggled with him. They had a bit of physicality, but what we've seen today is they might have fallen on system here with 2 strikers, 2 up front. You can see with Solanke there at the back post with Richarlison. They're a handful. They've got physicality. They were powerful. Corners were coming in or free kicks. They went direct. You could hit them. You can see Solanke bumps into Gomez there. Virgil van Dijk now has got a problem. And that happened time and time again. As Roy rightly says, it wasn't pretty. but they had opportunities and they were just always there. You can see they land on this second ball here, he gets his strike away. And it just became uncomfortable for Liverpool. The longer it went on, you felt that they would get something. Jamie Carragher said it perfectly. They were sleepwalking into this Liverpool. But you also have to credit them. You can see here, just gamble Colin Wani at the back post. Richarlison doesn't quite get on the end of that. And then they obviously get the goal, which is one direct ball. Colin Wani wins it. You shouldn't be able to do this. Look, 3 touches he takes here. 1, 2, 3. Joe Gomez gets dragged across and Richarlison, Szoboszlai doesn't tuck in. I think if he doesn't strike it, because he scuffs it, I think that's why it goes in, Ashley.
Yeah, of course it does. You know, when he gets set up here by Colin Wani, if he hits it well, I think he could go past the post. But, you know, he's created that for himself. You know, today he's been a handful, like we've been saying. And you know what? This could be something that then turns the season around. But they've got to build on this again. They can't just sit back now. They've got to go into the next game and build on this, build on the momentum, and take this into that next game.
Yeah, it's only a good point, depending on what happens next, particularly against Nottingham Forest.
Kelly.
Yeah.
I mean, they're on a run of 5 defeats. They've won 3 points from last possible 30. Coming here today, I didn't give them a hope. I have to be honest. I looked at the team. I thought, how can this team get a result today? You know, they've been spineless in every aspect of playing football. But now it's going to be interesting. It's kept the manager because you'd have had all that turmoil. I think if they'd have lost today, they'd have had to get rid of Igor Tudor. Right, who then do we bring in? Is that going to actually change what we're doing right now? They've got 2 huge games, Atletico Madrid and then Nottingham Forest at home. Now, can you somehow get some points to keep yourself and get yourself out of this horrendous predicament they've found themselves in? So it will be interesting. Does he stick to the same 2 centre-backs? Does he bring Romero back in and Van der Ven, who have been awful lately? They haven't really shown a lot of quality. I think ill-discipline hasn't helped. So he's got a few decisions to make. But one thing for sure I would do is keep those 2 strikers up there, because I think that gave him a platform, Roy, didn't it?
And it gave him an outlet for players, and Liverpool struggled to deal with it. And generally Spurs, you always think get a bit, you know, there's a softness to them. But that physicality, the 2 players up front were huge bonus today for Spurs. And it was an outlet. They were knocking people over. And between now and the end of the season, but then battles they have every week. Forest, their next league game. Huge.
To put it bluntly, is that just a huge disappointment?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. What happened with the performance?
I don't know, to be honest. Really, nothing to say. Again, in the last minute, I don't know how many times happened in the season already. Really, I don't know what to say. We have to wake up.
You just feel so flat stood here now.
Because at the end we have to, as I say, we have to wake up, because it's 9 games to go. I really don't know, and if we keep going like this, next season we should be happy if we play Conference League.
Why do you think it keeps happening?
I don't know. If I would know the answer, then probably I would tell the guys and we will change it, but I don't know. Honestly, I don't know.
It's a huge part of the frustration that a lot of the failings are familiar. They seem to happen week after week. The late goals being a key example, the play getting a bit slow being another example.
Well, I think in the first half we played very well. We controlled the whole game. I guess they hardly created any chance. Maybe they had 1 or 2 headers, but I think we were under control, and second half seems that we go out and I don't know. We just don't do the same things like in the first half, and the question is why. But probably we'll sit down together, and this is the most difficult time. But we have to stick to that. We have to stick together.
The boos from the supporters at full time, rare at this place, really hurt to hear.
I didn't hear the boos, but obviously we can understand them, because last season we became champion, and this season we are not performing in a way that we should be. But I think they should stand behind us, because last season when we are champions 4 games before the end, everybody was happy. So support us now when we are in a difficult time.
Can you wake up in time? It's still there to qualify for the Champions League, and of course this season's Champions League with the game you have in midweek.
Of course, there's always, not always time, but there is still time to show how much we want. We have to stay together. We have to fight for each other. We have to fight for the club, because everybody want to play Champions League next season.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Jamie, significant that he used the phrase "wake up" about the performances when the phrase that's been used here and in commentary was sleepwalking about Liverpool's defence in particular.
Yeah, defence. Also, I think from an attacking point of view, Kelly, they go 1-0 up and you're thinking if they just put the foot on the gas, they could win this game comfortably, 2-3. Even the subs that come on, Nekatike's been magnificent this year, but he came on, he didn't show any real desire or energy to make something happen, get himself a goal. I think that epitomised the performance. Salah come on, done a few bits, but he looks like he hasn't got the pace that he had last year, the goals that he had last year. Everything just seems missing in the energy in midfield. And defensively, when you look at that goal, I think it epitomises Liverpool defensively all season. You know, individual mistakes, not strong enough winning the second ball. And then when you concede a goal like that, when you should be thinking, right, no matter what happens here, if we don't win 2 or 3-0, we make sure we win 1-0. And I think that was just too easy from Tottenham's point of view to get that last goal. And they have to be careful, but they're still right in the Champions League race. Make no mistake. You know, look at Chelsea. There's no one with really any momentum apart from Manchester United, who had a great result today. You know, Chelsea, like, they've got that momentum. Aston Villa are struggling. So all they have to do is find a little bit of form. They're certainly not out of this top 4, top 5 race, but they have to win games like today for sure.
Yeah, there's a few teams that are sort of limping a little bit towards the end of the season, but equally, actually, at the same point, at the same time, it's a missed opportunity, given that Aston Villa and Chelsea both lost their games this weekend. This was a chance for them to try and get themselves a foothold in it.
Yeah, and they would have seen that as well, seeing Chelsea lose yesterday. Obviously, it would have come through that Aston Villa lost again today. It's massively disappointing for them today. You know, the way they went about it, and obviously they got themselves 1-0 ahead, and, you know, all signs were there that they would come back out and get the second goal. But you've got to do things in the right way, in the right manner. And if you don't get that second goal, like Jamie said, you see out the game and win 1-0. But Tottenham were very good in the second half. And I think Liverpool allowed them to be very good with the defensive frailties that Liverpool actually showed. The goal in itself, there's so many errors there. Szoboszlai's way out of position. Vicario's taking a long free kick and you're standing way out. You need to be tucked back inside. You know, the header as well from Robertson, then Van Dijk, and then it just mounts up. Joe Gomez and obviously Richarlison coming back here as an Everton player as well. You know, for him, it was a fantastic day. But like we say, Liverpool are always going to be in this Champions League race and they're always going to be there, but they've got to start turning things into positivity, and the inconsistency they've been showing is far too often. It's now they need to be at the back end of this season, last 8 or 9 games, to get points on the table, to get themselves looking further up. When they get opportunities like this with Chelsea losing, Aston Villa losing, you've got to take that, and today they just didn't.
There are moments, and there was a moment for Dominic Szoboszlai when he scored the free kick. We've seen him do that so many times. This is 4th of the season, Jamie.
Yeah, and we said at half-time, Kelly, you know, he's becoming a master. He's got this beautiful technique. It's sort of like top spin, he gets on it and it's dipping. This one, I just can't help but look at the goalkeeper. He takes his step, his foot pattern is wrong, almost like a negative step to start. He takes a little one there, then a little one, instead of making one big step, and it's just completely wrong. If you see someone trying to do the high jump, they're not going to go small steps, are they? They're going to go big steps to get you that trajectory so you can get up and reach for it. He doesn't do that. But I will also say, and as he's been poor. He made an unbelievable save, I think, from Gakpo to keep his side in it. You know, and he just poured it onto the post. They're big moments. So, in fairness to him, he reacted well and kept his side in the game when he needed him.
Yeah, Vicario does not have a good record in terms of trying to stop shots from outside the area. But for Dominic Szoboszlai, of the 16 that have been scored in the Premier League so far this season, he's got 4 of them, which is 1 short of David Beckham and Laurent Robert, who've got 5. And you know there are a clutch of players who've got 4 goals direct from a free kick over the previous seasons. But it's gone really well for Dominic Szoboszlai, at least in that side of the game.
Yeah, he's been Liverpool's best player by an absolute mile, Kelly.
But we should also say that he's conceded, Vicario, 11 goals from outside the box, and the next highest on there is 7. So we know that he's not strong from those long range efforts. What he has done is keep Spurs in the game at times, though, Jamie.
Absolutely, this is huge. This really was, because you felt at this point in the match, Liverpool go 2-0 up, could be 4, could be 5, because obviously they are so frail, but that is a brilliant save. It's unbelievable when you look at it from behind the goal, because he has to be strong, he has to be alive. His confidence is a bit low from the one that he conceded before. Liverpool work it well. Gakpo doesn't take it, he just gets it out of his feet and strikes it. Look at this here, he's moving to his left. Then he takes that step there and just look at that. That's beautiful. That is an excellent save that's kept his side in the game, you know, and then you could talk about the ones that he hasn't made. When you're struggling, his confidence is low, he got obviously not playing in midweek, then he had to come back onto the pitch. You need that, and they're going to need him to make a lot of saves like that before the end of the season, because as much as it's a good point, Spurs have still got an awful lot to do. They've won 2 home games. And you start to think, well, OK, the home games, they've got Nottingham Forest at home. They've beaten Brentford and Burnley this season. They've got to try and find some ways to get some home form going. Otherwise, they're still banging trouble.
And just to go back to Dominic Szoboszlai's interview, he seemed at a loss to work out what the way to fix it was. He seemed at a loss to explain what was going wrong for Liverpool.
Well, defend better. Defend better. The goal they gave away in his position, and for an experienced player, I know people say it's not his natural position. You can't be on the outside looking back in. You've got to get back in. You've got experienced defenders. Get back in. As you're 1-0 up, but we're under the cosh. We've already, throughout the season, conceded a lot of late goals. So take your 1-0 victory and you move on. So the goals, when players get interviewed afterwards, they say, well, if I knew the problem, we can see the problems. Defend better. Have more desire. Whether it be Robson with your headers, your 2 centre-halves, from a free kick from a goalkeeper. That's exactly where you've got to be tucked in. So have they lost that bit of... There's definitely something missing at Liverpool, obviously. They're way off it. Their performance today, you go 1-0 up, you're thinking, come on, Liverpool, no, this is your chance to flex your muscles. But there's definitely tension in the stadium. There's nervousness, there's something amiss with Liverpool, whether it be obviously the players, obviously issues with the manager, whatever, but recruitment, that's not really panned out the way they hoped. And there can be issues with that, obviously, and 1 or 2 injuries, like every other club out there. But Liverpool have got to have a good look in the mirror and say, listen, let's get back to that fight and desire that we had last year when we were scoring the late goals and winning these tight games. Now they're coming. Even we were here, what was it, a month or so ago against City, and they found a way to lose that, even though they had good chance in the second half. So, yeah, the players need to take responsibility, because the goal they gave away is schoolboy stuff.
And it's an important one because the teams around them, also involved in the relegation fight, all managed to get a point this weekend. Wolves, of course, still in action on Monday Night Football, but Spurs needed that to stay out of the bottom 3. Here is Igor Tudor with Patrick Davison.
Well, Igor, you said before the game, no crying, we need fight. Did you get that fight?
Yeah, we get that. We get that. See the situation, what it was with 12 players in the pitch. Amazing, incredible point we take here. Deserving. I think we show the spirit. We show the team spirit. So congratulations to the guys.
And what would you say about the players showing that spirit in the circumstances you've faced, particularly this week?
Yeah, I agree with the circumstances. It's very difficult even to explain the circumstances, because you prepare in 1-2 training one thing with then in this morning Connor said that he's not able to play, so you need to change the players, the positions and everything. So it's a moment is really strange, but what I said before to the player, even more challenging, to show who you are as a individual and we as a team. So that was the goal, and the player, I like them very much. They were really amazing, yeah.
So, I mean, now that the game's done, can you tell us about how you had to change and adapt tactics in the build-up to this match? It looked like you went basically 4-4-2 and tried to simplify things for the players.
In the infants we played like that. In attack you try to do something different, but in this moment it's very difficult to work on any kind of structure in attack, so we need to simplify it. Otherwise can be even more difficult for the players. So the moment is that the style of football is that what is it, but I think it's a good start.
What was better today, and would you say that's the best your team have played since you took charge a month ago?
What I already said, the team spirit was amazing. They were very honest to give everything today what they have in this particular moment. This was the main demand, and then in the end the quality is there, and they show that otherwise you don't stay in the game and you don't take a point in this stadium against this team.
What could this do for your team in this last little bit of the season? Obviously crucial weeks and matches ahead.
No, crucial every game, because it's not too much until the end. So every point is crucial, every point count. Just going by game by game. What I said, waiting the players come back and try to build something if there is a time, between the games.
You think maybe a turning point today?
We hope so. We hope so.
And just tell us, you did an interview, I think it was on Friday, where you asked about your position and you said people want a new manager because they want the hope of a new manager. Have you?
No, generally. I was speaking generally about who want who. It's always happened, but this is the everywhere situation in every club in the war when there are no good results. So this is the changing coach giving always new hope. But thing is that the problems stay always. The problems need to be resolved. So you can change 10 coaches, but you need to resolve the problems. Otherwise, that don't move nothing.
Yeah. So that's the point I was going to make. Have you shown that you can provide that hope? That you don't need a new manager. But listen, do you not think
it's enough with I always tell you what I think.
Yeah. But do you not think sometimes these questions need to be asked and need to be answered? You've got a lot of Spurs fans all around the world. And to say...
Which question need to be answered?
Well, about the future of the club, about who's going to be the manager, about is the team going to stay in the league?
There's not a question for me. I'm the coach. You need to ask me about play, about how we play, how we do.
Have.
And I answer, So this question you like to, journalists to ask is nothing about, it's a question that doesn't have sense. When you ask the coach about your position, you don't have any sense of this, just to... All the coaches telling always the same things, but you always insist. So, coach need to answer something because he's obliged to come on this press conference. Otherwise, he would like to stay home.
I'm sure.
But you insist always with the almost same questions.
No, but the point being, you can provide the hope, right? That was something you said in an interview on Friday.
No, I didn't say that.
You said about
what I said.
You said. People need hope of a new manager sometimes. And my point is only, have you shown today, with the way Tottenham play, that you can provide hope?
What do I think? What I will answer you now? What I will answer, do you provide hope? What kind of questions? What I need to tell you now? No.
You can say whatever you like.
Yeah, but I said this. What you will tell on my place? Of course. Mm-hmm. So this is the answer you want to hear.
I've got... Okay. You can just say whatever you like.
If we finish or no?
We're finished.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
We tried to unpick that. What Patrick was asking of Igor Tudor was, you said a new manager could bring hope. Have you brought hope now that you've got this result?
Yeah,
I think Igor Tudor thought that he was saying, can a new manager after you bring hope that maybe you haven't brought so far? So I think they may have been at cross purposes for that one. But what I think is a fair question to ask him is has he brought hope? Because there was a lot of speculation about whether or not he would last past the end of this game if it was a heavy defeat, if it was another poor performance.
He's been under pressure, the manager, so I think there was a bit of confusion there, maybe a bit of translation or whatever. But they'll have hope after today's performance and result. Of course they will. And that's what you got to have as any football manager, player, supporter. So the Spurs fans leaving Anfield today will go back with a bit of hope and a bit more belief because they saw a little bit of fight. We know Spurs over the last few years, we always say, well, they kind of do have that quality. I said that before the game. But the question marks and where people have been looking at Spurs, but do Spurs have that real fight to be down there? They're not used to it or whatever it might be, and they're on a lack of confidence, the results, even going back to the last year or two. But they showed that today. And that's all the manager can focus on. You mentioned there about simplifying stuff. And I think that's a good start. Keep it simple for the players. No point in confusing them. They're in a battle. They've got to roll their sleeves up. They did that. But also, that won't be enough either. You have to show quality. And they showed quality today. They showed quality with their attacking player, with their fighting desire. But they have to keep that going on for the season. They have to. Today just won't be enough. They have to build on that. And obviously, they've got a European game. Whether the manager, I don't like this idea of writing games off. But the priority for Spurs in the next week too is the Forest game, without a shadow of a doubt. And if they put in that type of performance and quality, getting players back, I go back to what I said before the show, I think Spurs will be okay.
On the one hand, you've got a manager who's lost his first 4 games and then earns a point with a late equaliser. On the other hand, you can look at that Spurs performance as the game grew on against Liverpool and say, maybe he is getting something out of the players. Where are you on that, Ashley?
I think today you look and think he did get something out of the players, especially in that second half. They were running, they were willing to run, they were willing to run back, they were tackling, they were creating chances. That's what he would be looking and thinking, this is the team that I want. is there hope for Tottenham? This is just the start. Of course, today is just the start. We were saying if they lost today, would he have been in a job tomorrow? Probably not. But it is now, you have to build on that. You can't just sit back on your laurels now and just be like, well, we went to Anfield. Everyone knows what it's like coming to Anfield. It's a tough place. But like Roy said there, them fans, they were clapping them. We didn't see that Palace the other day. They were out by half-time. Today they were staying till the end, seeing the team, seeing the fight, seeing that, do you know what? There's character in this squad. But like I said, they've now got to carry on and build on that. And if they don't, well, they're going to see themselves in trouble and there'll be questions of the manager again.
Yeah, they've got it all done. They've got Atletico Madrid, they've got to turn around a huge deficit there. Can they do it? It's going to be hard. But then they've got to make sure when they get back against Nottingham Forest next week, they are ready. And whatever team he picks, you know, and I mentioned there about Mickey van der Ven and Romero. Romero's the captain, World Cup winner, and Mickey van der Ven's one of their best players. But this season, they have been so far off it. And that's why I'm just questioning, maybe do something else. Maybe play players that look like they really want to fight for this. You know, those games aren't going to be easy.
The thing is, he had, what, 13 players out for this one, with Conor Gallagher being added to the pre-match kind of injury list and unavailable list. So he doesn't really have the option to play too many different players.
Kelly, you know, we were just saying off camera there, you know, when the manager, when he gets a phone, when someone knocks on his door this morning, Conor Gallagher says, I'm not up for it, I don't feel well, Gaffer, but I'll play for you. That tells you everything. They are down to their bare bones in terms of bringing on players that haven't had Premier League experience. Next week, things might improve. Now, would they be in this predicament if they had Kulusevski and Maddison? No, they wouldn't be, but they are. So what you have to do is just fight with everything that you've got. I think the three of us said right at the start of the show, if they lose today, the manager would have changed. Now, would it brought new hope? I don't know. Who's out there? Sean Dyche has been mentioned. Other people have been mentioned, you know, and it wouldn't have maybe made any difference because unless the players give everything, and sometimes right now you're playing week that you can't do that much tactics with the players because you've got to go again midweek, then you've got to go again the weekend against Nottingham Forest. You can't really work on systems. Today they're falling on a front two. Now, is that going to be the way to go? Just to find some points, somehow get some results, scrap, fight, do everything that you can.
With your teams down there, if you've got to give me a choice of which group the players to work with, I'd go with the Spurs group.
Because
of all their problems and
what? Because of the centre forwards and centre backs.
Yeah, I still think there's a goal threat. And I think that what we saw today with the physicality, and you said there's obviously maybe lack of options because there's so many injuries. But sometimes that suits a manager. You go, listen, lads, this is all we've got. And that's why it was a bit more. They seemed more simple in their play today. It wasn't complicated because the manager's hands are tied a little bit, and sometimes that's the way it pans out. A manager can trip onto a system. You go, that wasn't my plan 2 or 3 weeks ago, but because we've got injuries, we've got 2 lads up front who are physical, let's just go a bit direct, and that's what they were today. Maybe that's the way to go till the end of the season, just to get out of a bit of the trouble they're in. So I'd still go with this group of players to Spurs to get out of trouble.
Even though there isn't a chance to kind of get them back and get them fit and refreshed between match fixtures, that you are going to have to stretch that squad as thin as you can.
There's an international break in a week or two, whatever. I think Spurs will get 1 or 2 players maybe back after that, even for the last 4 or 5 games. But over the next week or two, getting through obviously a European game, you've got Forest. Yeah, just focus on the group who've done well today and roll their sleeves off, because that's half the battle. Because what you're finding out about your players now is the characters, and if players are missing and players obviously generally injured, but you've got a group of players, you go, listen, I didn't fancy when I came in 2 or 3 weeks ago, but you're the group that might get me out of trouble.
The big thing is, Kelly, I think, is their home form. The players look terrified playing at home. They don't look comfortable. If things go against them, they concede a goal, they shrink, they don't show that character to get on the ball. And bravery comes in different guises. You know, some people think like going into a tackle, that's being brave. Others, it's receiving the ball on the half-turn when you're under pressure. And I just think they shrink. Now, somehow they've got to find it with them, because Nottingham Forest next week will go there, they'll sit back, it'll be totally different to this today. They'll sit back and they'll just wait for counter-attack a little bit like they have got success over the last few years. So that's not going to be easy. So that gives you a different problem. It's all right getting a point here, as Ashley said. It's next week when you're at home, when you've got to try and find that little bit of pressure. And the fans, maybe they start to give the ball away. How do you handle that? So this point will only be good if they get something next week, because that's going to be such a big game. And it could shape the end of the season, because if you get Chin there, then they're all of a sudden right back in it.
Yeah, there's always more pressure when you're playing at home, obviously. And Jamie mentioned the word courage. And courage is wanting the ball when you don't want it.
Yeah.
And that's when the fans are on your back, or obviously Spurs, they might be leaving after half an hour, going to half-time. You have to ignore all that as a footballer. You have to. And just want the ball when you don't want it. When you're under pressure, somebody behind. And they've done that today, to be fair. I know it's away from home and it's slightly easier, there's less pressure because nobody expects them to get a result. But next week when you're home at the Forest, show that courage you showed today. And again, want the ball. in tight situations, and even say to your teammates, give it to me, I don't mind, I can deal with it. That's why you're playing for these big clubs, to deal with that pressure.
I think that's what they've got to do, you know, especially next week when they're at home. They've got to show what they showed in the second half and do that early, then to get the fans on side. That's what will help them. And then you can grow into the game, your confidence then starts coming out, the belief in everybody around the ground then starts coming out and filters onto the pitch. You know, you start creating chances. That would then be fantastic for the fans are with you, and then it's down to the players to then go out, put on a performance and get the win. Once they get that win, they go into the international break, the manager can then start, you know, working more with the players. A few players might come back, then you go into the final few games of the season.
Is this enough to end speculation about Igor Tudor's future, or has it deferred it?
I think it's enough. We're talking about Tottenham, though, Kelly. You know, I'm not sure some of the decisions they've made over the last couple of years with getting rid of the manager, always thinking that's the right thing to do. So it hasn't always paid off. But I don't see right now the value in changing. You know, it's just not that easy. There aren't many candidates out there, as I say. But I think if they'd have lost, that would have forced their hand. I think the fans would have demanded it. And then you'd been searching, trying to find the next manager, trying to keep you up. I don't know, what would you have gone with, Roy?
What, changing them? No, but if it's enhanced, the fact they've got a result today will give them a bit more belief and confidence. And I'm delighted for the manager who's gone in there. Listen, everyone thinks they can do a better job than the manager who's in there. I think what they've done today, a bit of fight, a bit of spirit. No, I'm delighted he's got a result today and he's got another opportunity to try and get some results over the next week or two. You just can't keep chopping and changing all the time. We've seen other clubs trying to do. We've seen a Forest, and it doesn't always work. Give this man a chance. He's in the door a few weeks. Hopefully a bit of confidence for the players and for the manager today. And we saw him in the interview afterwards. He can get maybe a bit more belief in his tactics and his messages to the player from getting a positive result today and a decent performance.
Well, while Spurs are fighting to get out of the relegation battle, Liverpool are looking to finish in the Champions League places as reigning champions. So it's been a difficult season as well for Arne Slot. He's with Patrick Davison.
Well, in a season, unfortunately, where there's been too many disappointments, was that a big blow today?
Yeah, every time when it happens, it feels as if it's the biggest blow. So when it happened against Wolves, it felt this is the biggest blow of the season, and now it happens again. So again, in the last minute, again an opportunity to score afterwards ourselves, which we didn't do, and then. We leave the pitch with a disappointing result.
Is perhaps the biggest frustration is that so many of the failings we saw today, particularly conceding late, are failings we've seen throughout the season. They're too familiar. They're being repeated too many times.
Yeah, although the way we concede is not always the same in the last minute, so you cannot compare the deflected shot against Wolves with the one we conceded today. Or the 30-yard shot against Fulham in the top corner. So it's different in the way we concede, but the same thing is that we constantly, or mainly if we drop points, concede goals either in extra time or as today in the last minute.
Were you concerned in the, 20, 30 minutes even before the goal that it had started to get too open, too much like a basketball match?
No, it was clear that that was the most equal part of the game. So before that, I think we were the better team. Got some good chances. The goal we scored wasn't our biggest chance, although when Dominic is behind the ball in that position, it becomes a big chance at the moment. But we had better chances than that to score from. But as so many times this season, we weren't able to do so. And the way we conceded our chances throughout the whole game was quite similar. I think the 4 or 5 difficult moments we had all came from long ball, second ball. It wasn't as if we were too open and they played through us. After us pressing high, it was us being behind the ball. They kicked the ball long, not able to clear the ball far enough, or the ball fell to them. And that was already 2 minutes before halftime, which was their first chance coming from that. And that was also the way they scored. So. But indeed, the last 20 minutes, we were a lot of times in counter-attacks or when they were maybe open. 3 versus 2, 4 versus 3s, 2 against 1, 1 against 0. But as I said, not able to score from those moments. And then, as this season is going, it's not a complete surprise that we are conceding in the last minute.
So if we kind of, for a second, take away the result, what's your overall feeling about the performance? I know it's difficult straight after the game.
Yeah, I don't think in football you should always ever take out the result, because the result is all that matters, and the result usually gives you a better or a more negative feeling about the performance. But it's clear that there were a few things positive today. If you look at the great goal we scored with Dominic, if you look at the performance of Rio for a 17-year-old, if you look at the chances we've created, but we are never able to outscore the amount of chances we have. So it's always, you expect more goals than we are creating, but it's also completely clear that there are parts of our game where we definitely need to improve, and that's also why we're in this position, because not everything, actually a lot of things are not perfect, and as a result of that we're not able to win or to get as many points as we want to.
On that positive of Rio and Gamoa, has he given you real food for thought, a decision to make for the Champions League in midweek in terms of maybe starting him there?
I think I said 2 months ago that he progressed so well as a, first of all, 16-year-old when he joined us, and now 17, that he progressed so well that he gets more and more playing time, and he started already a few times, and it was his first Premier League start. But yeah, performance like today will only help him to play more for this club.
And when you say a lot of things aren't perfect, I know you've been over this time and time again, been asked about it a million times. What is top of the to-do list in terms of things that can be fixed between now and midweek, or between now and the end of the season?
No, it's not always been the same, the things we have to improve, but during the week we conceded a set piece. That's something we did a lot this season. In general, we've conceded far too many goals to pick up the amount of points this club and I'm used to. And of course, I think we are completely underperforming in terms of the chances we create and the amount of goals we score. And that's quite a surprise if you look at how much attacking quality we have. But yeah, if you're not able to score, then or not score enough, then you have to be able to keep a clean sheet, and that's something we find really hard this season.
And lastly, there was some boos at full time, not the whole stadium, but I would say a fair chunk of it. Does that concern you, that there is maybe a fair chunk of the fan base that's maybe losing a little bit of patience at the moment?
No, I think it's completely normal. If the team you are supporting so many times is dropping points against teams where you don't expect them to drop point against, if so many times this happens in the last second of a game, then I think we all feel a lot of frustration. And they definitely, because they've experienced this far too many times than they are used to, and then it's completely normal that they show their frustration, the frustration that is felt by me, by the players, and also by our fans. And I'm 100% sure that if they show up Wednesday, they will be supportive again from the start. But if the team doesn't perform to the standards they are used to, I think it's completely normal that they are frustrated.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thanks. Thank you.
Well, the fans are frustrated, and Liverpool still find themselves, as you pointed out earlier, in what's probably going to be a Champions League qualification position in fifth place in the table. But there was a missed opportunity today to move on to 52 points and move into fourth. And potentially they could be further up the table. It's all ifs and buts. But for these late goals. Now, look, the games last as long as they last. So, and he said they're conceding late goals in lots of different ways, so you can't really draw a straight line through them. Do you think there is a connecting factor, Jamie?
Yeah, and I've just hoping their confidence to kill teams off. But once that starts to happen, you see in September, and you start to concede late, it gets into your mind. You start, it could happen again, and you sit back. Now, Roy mentioned something with the goal there. So if you have that problem and you are conceding late, then you say to your two fullbacks, listen, let's just get this 1-0. Let's get Szoboszlai in. Let's get Robertson in, and make sure we don't concede. But it was so easy, the goal. It was like a catalogue of mistakes. I actually said it, you could look at everything. You could look at Joe Gomez. Does he get dragged across too much? Does Virgil van Dijk, is he strong enough with Kolo Muani? Look, you see, he's covering there. Then Joe Gomez gets dragged across. Where's Szoboszlai? Just drag yourself in. Let's be difficult to beat. I know we want to play progressive, and I know you want to be on the front foot, and if we get the ball, then Szoboszlai maybe he's out, but he's your right back. We're winning 1-0. It's the 90th minute. Get yourself back in. You can point to he's not a right back, he's a midfield player, but all these little things aren't good enough, and that's pretty much been indicative of Liverpool defensively. You know, that shouldn't happen. It's such a scruffy, ugly goal. And that could be the difference between getting in the Champions League and not.
It's a strange mix between what Arne Slot has described as that kind of more considered style of football that he wants to play and panic. It seems that there's a strange mix of that going on at the moment.
At times there is panic that is going on. And, you know, Arne Slot just said there about, you know, the counter-attacking towards the last 20 minutes. They were counter-attacking a lot. That a lot of times that they had the opportunity to go and score and get the second goal. Liverpool here, especially at Anfield, come across teams that come and play it and sit in a low block. So they must work on that and know, right, teams are going to come and sit in a low block. We're going to play counter-attacking football. The final pass has got to be a good one. There was far too many out there that the final pass was... Awful. It was pathetic. It was terrible. And you can't keep doing that. When you get them big opportunities where, you know, Spurs were pushing forward to try and get a goal, there were spaces all over the pitch, you know, Ekitike, Mo Salah, there were so many of them that kept on giving it away that, you know, you was thinking, Tottenham are going to score. And we were in the studio going, Tottenham are going to score here. And I think Tottenham felt that, and, you know, it's one of the things that Arne Slot's got a style of play here, and, you know, they said the fans were booing towards the end. You know, fans want to see front foot football. They want to see Liverpool blowing teams away. And, you know, when you've got the Tottenham team that come here that are fragile, they should have been able to do that. They should have definitely blown them away today, gone and got the second goal. If they had got it in the first half or come out in the second half and got that, it would have been a total different case, but they weren't able to do that. And like I say, the inconsistency that's going on is far too much this season, conceding late goals. It's going to be a disappointment this season, and it needs to be fixed soon rather than later.
I mean, that front foot football was something that Liverpool played at 100 miles an hour under Jurgen Klopp, and it's something that these supporters were used to seeing. Is there an issue in terms of comparison? Because the idea was that Arne Slot was going to come in and slow things down is maybe the wrong expression to use, but steady things in order that Liverpool could manage seasons better, manage injuries better, manage the kind of load on the players better. Is there an issue with comparison?
Oh, well, it's great to have a plan, isn't it? The reality is different when you go out and play football matches. And Ashley mentioned there about Spurs being fragile. I think Liverpool look fragile. I think they're fragile. They have different challenges trying to get in the Champions League. And listen, they still might have a good season regarding the cup competitions. But when they were 1-0 up today, and when the game became open, if you're the Liverpool manager, you see the game getting open, you go, that suits us as well. Don't worry, we can get at these. And they did have opportunities. And the games I'm watching, they're getting to positions. And he's obviously an experienced manager. And his points were there, even the opportunities they had to kind of finish Spurs off, and they're not taking it. So every team knows the longer the game goes on, as long as there's only a goal in it, they've got great encouragement. Like for a team like Spurs, who are fragile and who were on a bad run, their belief was growing in the game, going, I think we have a chance here. And obviously they produced at the end, even if it's from a long ball. And we're talking about players getting in position and players in the wrong positions. But to me, that's just common sense and experienced players to say, we'll shut up shop, we'll take the 1-0 win. But they're conceding so many goals. And considering they were league champions last year, and I've said it before and I've said it a number of times, Liverpool are bad champions. They've been bad champions. They were bad champions a few years ago. They're now 21 points behind Arsenal. Like, what a drop-off that is. That is so bad. So I think there's issues going on in the background. I think there's bigger issues. There's details there you can fix. Obviously, you're talking about players tucking in, but I think there's stuff going on there. I don't know if they're all on the same page. There doesn't seem that chemistry with the players. You're on about when you win big titles sometimes. The big challenge is the following year. Can you back it up? And I think these players...
Is that not just something that Manchester City... I mean, it's difficult to go and retain a title, but Manchester City...
It's very hard to retain. You can obviously have a drop-off, but City have dropped off recently in terms of their high standards, but they're still competing second or third. They're not 20, 30 points behind the team who's winning the league. That's a drop-off. But for Liverpool to be so far off it, that's like last year they conceded... They lost 4 games. They've lost 9 already this year. You're going, that is... I find it hard to get my head around that.
After they'd won the league.
Yeah, of course, but they're just slacking off a little bit. They switched off, of course. And it's almost that mentality. Last year, I was critical of Liverpool towards last year, or even towards the end when they were like, I felt they were almost partying too much. And they were partying with 4, 5, 6 weeks to go, and the fans, and there was celebration after every home game. You're going, you're a Liverpool Football Club. I know it's... But let me finish. You're not expected to win league titles. So when you do win a league title, you go, don't worry, they're planning for us in our dressing room. We go, yeah, enjoy it, don't get me wrong. But let's back it up next year. That's why you're playing for the big clubs. So when I see these teams win a trophy and then disappear for 10 or 15 years, I'm like, and I'll be thinking the same at Arsenal. When Arsenal win the league this year, you don't want Arsenal to disappear for the next 3, 4, 5 years. You've got to back it up. Or don't be 20, 30 points behind the top team next year. You've got to compete. That's your challenge. And when you're giving up goals like that, or whether about Wolves recently, or even the goal against the game against Man City, I look at this group of players and their mentality and their work rate and their desire, what they do on training pitch, and I don't like what I see with this Liverpool group. I just don't like it. It's just as if they're on about, we're giving up late goals. Yeah, that's down to yourselves. That's your desire when the ball comes in the box. Was it done Bournemouth not long ago? When the ball comes in the box, go and head the ball.
Like last minute.
Last minute. These are little details. And people go, oh, well, it wasn't our day, we got injuries. No, you've got stuff, enough quality on the pitch. You've got yourself in a good position, like you did last year, by the way, when you had that hunger to go and win league titles. And again, they won a lot of games where the manager was concerned last year because they only won so many games by the odd goal. But no, this fight and desire that I see in this group today, especially in the last 5 minutes, because these are big football games about moments, and Liverpool are getting so many moments wrong at the moment. Is that down to work rate, desire, a bit of fire in your belly? I think a lot of it is.
Is it down to the players or is it down to the manager? That's the perennial question for any team that's going through a bad phase.
Yeah, and I think there's obviously a lot of talk about the manager because there's an elephant in the room in terms of the manager waiting for a job, and that's Xabi Alonso. So people are starting to talk maybe he could be the man next year. Now, personally, I just don't think that's how Liverpool have worked over the years. Having spent 11 years here, they give managers time. And when a manager's won the league the year before, to then go and change it would just feel extremely harsh. Now, you can turn around and say, well, they spent an absolute fortune. Yeah, they spent a lot of money in the summer. Alexander Isak never got going, so there's £90 million or whatever he cost, or even more, I don't even know what he was. But he hasn't had the chance. Wirtz didn't fire at the start of the season. He started to try and find some form, which he looks a lot better. Ekitike is a real player. Today he didn't have his best moments. But so for that reason, I think he needs a bit more time again next season. You know, they haven't performed. I can't disagree with what Roy said there. But you've got to make sure you can do that next year. I don't think Salah will be here next year. You know, the drop-off from him has been extraordinary. I think he had 27, 28 goals this time last year. He's got 5 this season. So that tells you everything. You know, those goals that you're winning games, they're not here this year. So where are you finding your goals? You've got other young players that are getting chances now, like Rio's come into the team. Now, he did OK. He did all right today. I want a bit more end product from him. There are times when I think, yeah, plenty of step-overs. Can you do a little bit more? Can you make sure you add those goals to your game? But he's a young man getting opportunities. You played wide, Ash. What would you, if you were giving him advice, what would you say to him?
Yeah, it's like you're saying there, you know, you can see him doing the step-overs and whatnot. You want him doing it in the right areas. You want him to create chances. You want him to score goals. And, you know, here, obviously, he is a young kid and he does fantastically well here to get himself out of that. Obviously, it's unfortunate there, but, you know, to see him get an opportunity, you want to see him, you know, just really take it, you know, take the opportunity. And, you know, it's great to see him, great to see him get on the pitch, and, you know, he'd be more than happy getting that opportunity. But
as you said,
today.
He's still young, still developing, and still looking to improve his game, even though he has natural talent there. And those kind of dribbles completed is something that will get the crowd on their feet and will sort of raise the atmosphere if the rest of the performance doesn't feel
what will
quite
define
right.
any young player? What will define any young player is his end product, of course, but he's just a kid. And he was a bonus today. When you're playing for the big positions, who can go past somebody, that's what gets people excited. But what he'll have to learn is his end product. And we've been talking about Liverpool. The problem you have now, we'll come to watch Liverpool, you don't know what you're going to get. That's not a good sign. I think somebody asked Bill Shankly many years ago about watching players and mentioned a player going, well, you don't know what you're going to get. He goes, they're no good to me. I want to have an idea what I want to turn up and watch. Would that be the players or the shape or players, what they're going to produce? And today, again, we were looking and we were thinking, could Liverpool win a 2-3-0? We go, yeah. But the draw doesn't surprise us yet. Doesn't surprise us either, because you don't know where you're going to get. And I think that's a really bad trait to have as a team. You want a team to turn up every week. Yeah, you're not going to win every week. We're going, do you know what? You know what you're going to get. We're going to compete. We're going to be 7, 8 out of 10 every week. Yeah. This team,
you know, as well,
toss of a coin.
I felt as, you know, in midfield, I look at midfields and I think, well, they're playing, they had a 2 in there with Sarr and Archie Gray. And you looked at Liverpool, they're Gravenberch, McAllister and Wirtz. such a big opportunity to use that extra man. And the amount of times that they just didn't play quickly enough, the ball speed was too slow. Making sure you play with that extra man, they should have really expanded on that area and had so much more success. Because Tottenham, I know they dropped Solanke in or Richarlison, but they outnumbered them, but they never maximised it and never really counted or made it work. But positives, yeah, I would give Rio as a positive today, and he's a young man. You know, there's expectations on young players. He comes in today. We saw what Max Dowman did yesterday. Everyone's probably getting excited, thinking he can do that. But I think he's earned his right. And if he's not maybe starting games, coming off the bench, but end product, you want goals, assists, because especially at Liverpool, where they've had the likes of Mane, they've had the likes of Salah that have put up incredible numbers, and that's going to be the expectation when you're a Liverpool wide man now. So if he can add that, he's got a wonderful chance here.
And also, I just want to make the point, when you see players making mistakes for Liverpool, obviously it's the same with Spurs, they made the point, players are making sloppy mistakes. Nobody's held accountable. Nobody's having a go at each other. Everyone's like, you have to put demands on each other. Top players put demands on each other. And I think Liverpool players at this moment in time are letting each other off the hook. Even the last goal there. Why isn't somebody making demands on people? Just tuck in. Yeah. That's what top teammates do, that, to put demands on each other. The bad teammates let you off the hook with that. That's no good to you.